Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, ASU teams with Starbucks to provide a free online education for Starbucks employees. And new rules are being considered for Arizona's medical marijuana program, including allowing those with PTSD to use the drug. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona State University and Starbucks announced a first-of-its-kind program today to provide a free online education opportunity for Starbucks employees. We'll hear from the head of ASU's online degree program in a moment, but first we hear from ASU President Michael Crow and Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, who announced the plan this morning in New York.
And so Starbucks is an innovative corporation interested in the advance of human capital, interested in the success of the United States, interested in you as an individual, on the assumption that you as a master learner, you as a person that's more adaptive, you as a person that has a capability of dreaming and thinking and realizing those dreams and advancing on those dreams will be better for their corporation, better for the community, and better for the country. We as a university say, this is a fantastic opportunity.
We got together with an extraordinary university in Arizona State and an extraordinary person in Dr. Michael Crow. And we said, can we co-author an opportunity in which we break the rules, break glass, apply the same level of disruptive innovation that we do to our respective institutions in business, and apply that innovation to the fact that we as a company want to do something that has not been done before. And that is, we want to create access to the American dream.
And here now with more on the Starbucks ASU online degree program is Phil Regier, Executive Vice President and Dean of ASU Online. Good to have you. Must be a busy man today.
I've been pretty busy today, that's for sure.
I would imagine so. The Starbucks College Achievement Plan, what exactly is that?
So the Starbucks College Achievement Plan is a plan that was announced today, as you saw, by President Crow and Howard Schultz in New York. And what it allows is, it's really a degree completion program for Starbucks employees. So it allows Starbucks employees who can transfer 56 hours or more to ASU to complete their final 2 years at ASU and end up paying no out-of-pocket costs for tuition. For Starbucks employees who can't transfer up to 56 hours, in other words, lower division students, it provides a partial Starbucks tuition scholarship. So
the partial scholarship means you could get anything from needs-based financing in a variety of directions?
Exactly. What we'll do for all of these partners, there are really three criteria to participate in the program. First off, you have to be a benefits-eligible Starbucks employee. For most Starbucks employees, that happens around month 4 or 5 or 6 that they work. Secondly, you have to be admissible to ASU. That's a very important criteria. We didn't want to change any of the things that we normally do for these people. And so all of the admissions criteria, all of the financial aid criteria, they're exactly the same ones that we'd apply. And thirdly, you can't have already graduated from a university. If you already have an undergraduate degree right now, you aren't going to be eligible.
And you have to average 20 hours a week, somewhere along those lines?
Exactly. A part-time employee at Starbucks is about 20 hours a week or more.
And these are all company stores?
These are the company stores. So Starbucks has around, you'll find, if you counted, there'd be about 10,000 Starbucks in the country.
Yeah.
About 7,000 of those are company-owned stores, meaning that all of the employees in those stores are Starbucks employees. If there are licensed stores, for example, I think at the airport or inside grocery stores or those sorts of stores, those are licensed by a third party, and those employees are not Starbucks employees, and so they won't be eligible for the program.
Will they in the future be eligible for the program?
I'm sorry, you'd have to ask the licensees. That's really a decision for them.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a decision between them and Starbucks.
And now these are U.S. employees only?
These are U.S. employees only. There are about 140,000 employees of Starbucks, and that includes Teavana as well as the people in the roasting plants, the people at the headquarters, et cetera. About 140,000 people.
Okay, is there a plan maybe for, you can't do all worldwide. I mean, there's how many people in China?
I think there are over 200,000 employees worldwide. Their second largest employment base is in China. At this point, let's say that we have enough to swallow with the U.S., but Starbucks really believes that there are educational needs for its employees, which they term partners, throughout the world.
Now these, let's talk about the degree. 40 some odd undergrad degrees offered, is that correct?
Correct. It's the same. One thing Starbucks was very insistent on is they didn't want to create some kind of Starbucks program at ASU.
Right.
They wanted these students to be able to have the exact same educational experience that any student coming to ASU online would have. And so right now we offer about 40 degrees. They range from nursing to electrical engineering to psychology, something in every college. And the students are going to be able to choose any one of those 40 degrees to advance their career in.
And again, they must choose online. What if I'm a Starbucks employee and I live in Tempe and I want to go to a couple of classes? Got to be online?
You have to. Yes, right now you have to be online.
All right.
If you think about Starbucks' problem wasn't that they had some employees in Maricopa County who wanted to go to campus. Their problem was that they had, 50,000 students across the country who wanted a program like this. They had to find an online option.
Are any of these research-driven degrees? And I asked this because it sounds like it might be electrical engineering, for example. How do you do that online and still get the same kind of quality education that hands-on gives you?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question because I think there are a lot of misperceptions about online education, which is, and they stem from its origins. It really grew out of correspondence schools, and it was a degraded form of education for a lot of people. But the fact is, the research shows that online is equivalent or better in terms of learning outcomes to what you can get in face-to-face classes. And the other thing is, face-to-face has had hundreds of years to develop. It's as good as it's ever going to get. We're just scratching the surface of what we can begin to do with technology around online learning. So our objective at ASU is to take every digital product, every digital tool. We'll partner with anyone who can help us advance student learning in an online age. We want to take a faculty member and surround the faculty member with technology so that instead of impacting 80 students or 120 students a year, they can impact 800 or 1,200 students a year. And you can do that in almost any discipline. There are some disciplines that we haven't cracked yet. The hard sciences are notoriously hard. We don't have a mechanical engineering degree. But you can do electrical engineering. It's circuitry, it's building things on, it's circuitry, it's digital. And we have, in our first engineering course, we have teams work from across the country online in small teams to build musical instruments.
And I understand, you can toot your own horn here, I guess, if you want, but the online education program at ASU seems to be much more advanced than at other universities in the country. First of all, is that true? And secondly, how to get that way?
We like to think it is. It's certainly one of the largest programs that is delivered by what I call a discovery or research-based institution in the country. I think it got that way because we had a belief early on that you could deliver to online students, and it was an important public as part of our public stature. We want to affect as many students as possible and advance as many students as possible. So we decided early on that we were going to get into the online business and really figure out if we could build a degree that was as good or better than what's delivered face-to-face. And what we found is that it is possible to do, and we're doing it increasingly, and we're adding 7 or 8 degrees a year.
You mentioned how correspondence schools and for-profits were the first along these lines, and now here come the nonprofits. And yet, this is a good deal for the university in the sense that you don't have some of those structural costs. I mean, talk about the costs to ASU, the costs to Starbucks. Talk about the dynamics there.
So the dynamics are pretty straightforward. First off, in regard to online education in general, it is the case that you have fixed cost components, but once those are built out, you can deliver them. The variable costs are a bit lower than delivering to the face-to-face student population, but we still require real faculty interaction in those online classes. In terms of the arrangement between Starbucks and ASU, what we decided is that ASU would have a commitment to this program, Starbucks has a commitment to this program. Every student is going to be treated differently. There's one other requirement. Students all have to fill out the federal financial aid form. It's called a FAFSA. And every student is going to have to fill that out. And then ASU is going to do what it always does with students who fill out a FAFSA, which is evaluate it, create a financial aid package for that student that may include Starbucks tuition scholarships, it may include Pell Grants, it may include student loans, and it may require the students to pay some out of pocket. The difference is, after 21 hours, Starbucks will remit any loan amounts, any amounts that the student had to pay out of pocket, or any loans the student had to take out for tuition.
As far as the genesis of this idea, I know there's the Markle Economic Future Initiative, this Markle Foundation, or this group of folks that get together. It sounds like Michael Crow and Howard Schultz got together somehow through this. What is that initiative, and was that really the genesis of all this, the spark?
To tell you the truth, I don't know that much about the Markle Foundation, but it is a nonprofit foundation that looks at ways to increase civic engagement. Based in New York. Zoe Baird is the CEO. And I know that Howard Schultz and President Crow were at a meeting of the Markle Foundation, I think last summer in July, and I think they started talking. But certainly it wasn't the case that ASU was the only school that Starbucks looked at. As Howard said this morning when he was discussing it, they looked at a lot of other universities in evaluating this, and they just thought there was a lot of separation between ASU and the other universities they looked at.
With that in mind, will there be other firms with similar type deals? First of all, will ASU go into partnership with other firms?
We'll continue to evaluate other firms, and if we find something where we think that it's consistent with our values and our brand and we can move forward and they're cooperative, we will certainly evaluate that in an ongoing basis. I think that it's important to understand that I think both for President Crow and for Howard Schultz, they don't want this to be a one-of-a-kind deal. You know, they think that there's an important problem in this country around adult degree completion. We have flatlined in terms of our adult degree completion attainment rates at precisely the time that the return to a university degree is so much higher than the return to somebody who doesn't have a university degree. And so they think that if you want to move that needle, if you want to start increasing the number of adults with degrees, you have to do much more innovative things, and industry needs to step into the vacuum that's really created right now.
And this particular program now, do online classes run the same kind of semester, fall and spring semesters that regular classes do?
Almost all of our classes run in a compressed time format class, so they're 7.5 weeks.
Okay.
So and the reason for that is it's a lot easier for an online student who is typically managing work, they've got a mortgage, they've got kids, to manage 2 classes at a time over 7.5 weeks than 4 classes over a 15 or 16-week period. And so, by the way, the learning outcomes are better too.
So they start when? Fall?
These students are going to start, the first group will be what we call Fall B, which starts in the middle of October.
Interesting. All right. Well, again, I thank you so much for being here. I know you've had a very busy day. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
The Colorado River has carved over 600 miles of canyons in southern Utah and northern Arizona. As sublime as these chasms are, to travelers, they pose a seemingly insurmountable problem. Just how do you get to the other side? A highway marker on US 89A commemorates a successful effort that for nearly 60 years did just that, Lee's Ferry. Mormon pioneer John D. Lee came here in 1871. He established a ferry service across the Colorado River at the only natural point for 600 miles. Lee, seen here seated on his coffin, was executed in 1877 for his role in the Mountain Meadows Massacre, when 120 immigrants heading to California were murdered in Utah. The ferry operated for 52 more years, transporting thousands of hikers, horses, wagons, and even small automobiles across the river. Only the railroad and finally in 1929, the Navajo Bridge made Lee's Ferry obsolete. Today, the original Navajo Bridge is reserved for pedestrians, while the new Navajo Bridge, built beside it in 1995, caters to cars and trucks. While the ferry itself is long gone, the name remains. Lee's Ferry is now the terminus for thousands of awestruck sightseers rafting on the mighty Colorado River.
Several changes are being considered for Arizona's medical marijuana program, including the possibility of allowing post-traumatic stress disorder to be included as a qualifying condition. Arizona Department of Health Services Director Will Humble joins us to discuss the potential changes. Good to see you again. Thanks.
Good evening. Thanks.
Why isn't medical marijuana approved for PTSD now?
Well, when the voters approved the law back in November of 2010, they approved a preset list of debilitating medical conditions that qualify people. But inside the language of the initiative was a provision that said, and by the way, folks can petition the Department of Health Services to add new conditions over time. And so we built regulations around the process by which people could apply or basically petition us to add new medical conditions. So PTSD wasn't on the original list, but over the last, however long, what has it been, 3 years, we've gotten several petitions to add PTSD, and this is the most recent petition that's come through.
And I know that the lack of evidence or the lack of research that it really does help these folks is a factor as far as you're concerned, correct?
Right. So that we received a petition back in October of 2013 to add PTSD to the list. We looked at the evidence, and I denied that petition back in January of 2014. There was a group of folks called the Cannabis Nurses Association who appealed my decision. It's called an appealable agency action. So they went to the Office of Administrative Hearings and had an administrative hearing about that decision to not add PTSD to the list. That judge issued his recommendation about a week or so ago, saying that I inappropriately denied that petition because I didn't consider some of the anecdotal evidence that was presented during the petition and during the hearing.
So that means now you reconsider?
Right. So it means that I have until July 9th to reconsider that decision from January. I could take the judge's recommendation, I could not take it, or I could modify that recommendation. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I'm still looking at the evidence. There's a new article that came out in a journal just a couple of days ago about some research in New Mexico, so I'm going to take a look at that. But again, I have till July 9th, and I think I'm going to use all that time because I want to make sure I get this right.
And the initial decision, your initial decision to refuse to include that, what was that based on? Why'd you say no?
Well, I just said no because there's a lack of published evidence in the medical literature that it's helpful for PTSD, specifically as treatment. There is more evidence, there's some evidence, I should say, that it is helpful for some people for temporary relief. It's called palliative care, but temporary relief of some of the symptoms for PTSD. That's what the petitioners were arguing. That's what the appeal was based upon. Not so much treatment, but rather, does it help at least temporarily to alleviate some of the symptoms of PTSD? So it's really sort of a nuanced distinction, but it's an important one, I think.
Well, does that mean now will you reconsider like depression and migraines? I mean, aspects of PTSD? How far does this go?
Well, the appeal was just for the decision on PTSD, because as you know, I've denied petitions for depression, skin cancer, a host of other things that I've turned down petitions for. This is the only one where we've had an appeal to the Office of Administrative Hearings. And so obviously this is the first time that a judge has recommended that we reconsider and change that decision.
I guess my question would be, if you do reconsider and you look at new evidence, whatever that evidence may be, does something like depression then pop up as a possibility for you? Forget the petition, for you to say, you know, I'm starting to see some things here.
Well, so one of the things that, remember, we go back to the voter-approved law. There was a line in there that said the department shall consider over time new petitions to add debilitating medical conditions. And so this is part of that process, and that cycle will come up again. In fact, every 6 months we accept new petitions. And so anytime an agency director, whether it's me or a future director, would deny a petition, you know, folks have an opportunity to appeal again at the, you know, as soon as the new evidence comes in. So it's an evergreen type of model. There is one nuance, however, which is directors can't take things off the list. Remember, so there was a voter-approved list. Those voter-approved conditions that people voted on, they're on the list. If I were to add PTSD to the list, there's no way for me or a future director to pull it off the list. In other words, it's a one-way street.
Even if the research all of a sudden came back walloping, showing that this is terrible for these people, you can't do that. You can petition to add. Yes.
Not to delete.
Not to delete. Okay, interesting. All right. New regulations on snacks and drinks and edibles, and what are we talking about here?
Well, the edible portion of the medical marijuana law has sort of evolved over time. There were some questions about the legality of edibles, brownies, for example, lemon bars, salsa I've even seen. So there's some questions that arose in 2012 and 2013 about the processes that dispensaries could use to develop those edible products that involve resins and extracts. There's a lot of detail to it, but there's Criminal Code Title 13 marijuana, and then there's Title 36 Arizona medical marijuana. There was a conflict between those two state statutes. It worked its way through the courts, and the courts about 6 months ago said dispensaries can make edibles. So that cleared up the question around, you know, are lemon bars, brownies, and the like okay for dispensaries to make and for people to buy. So now what we're going through in our rulemaking process is to try to better, try to find ways to better inform customers at dispensaries, patients at dispensaries, about the strength of that marijuana. So if, let's say you have a debilitating medical condition and you smoke marijuana for your medical condition, you get an immediate feedback loop, right? Because you smoke the marijuana, you feel the effects immediately. It's easy to self-regulate. That's more difficult with something like a brownie or another kind of edible, because you don't really know how much you're eating. You might eat too much, and it takes a long time to get into your bloodstream, so it's easy to over-medicate. So I'm going to be working with some of the stakeholders over the coming weeks to try to identify ways to better label the edibles so that we're in a better position to keep people from over-medicating when it comes to stuff like lemon bars and that.
And I read somewhere that the secret shoppers might be included in here to make make sure that they're doing, everyone's I's are crossed and T's are dotted.
That's something I talked to Howie Fisher about, who's on your journalist roundtable, maybe even this week again. It's something that we're exploring, but I don't think I have the statutory authority to send somebody in.
So if someone wanders in there looking
on
a little,
the QT.
Yeah, okay. Before we let you go, I know you're trying, or there is an attempt to lower the cost for some. Real quickly, what's that all about?
So one of the issues we have with the program is we have too much money. So we have $9 million in the medical marijuana fund. All of it's from the sale of cards and for the fees that we charge for dispensaries. We're exploring ways to bring our revenue closer in line with what our expenses are. So we're exploring lowering the cost of the cards to certain subgroups of people, seniors, for example, veterans, people on SSI or SSDI, government assistance programs and the like. We've already got discounted cards for people that are on food stamps. So so in our draft regulations, we're proposing to lower the cost of those cards, but keeping it for everybody else at $150 a year.
So the program seems to be strong as it stands, correct?
I think we're doing as good a job as we could have done given the voter-approved language that we have. Our staff is professional that we've recruited. I think we're making some good decisions. Financially, we're doing very well. Like I said, we have too much money and we need to bring those the revenue a little bit down, closer to what our expenses really are.
Interesting. All right. Good to have you here. We'll look forward to that July decision. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Tomorrow on Arizona Horizon, find out about Mesa's plans to develop a new technology corridor and hear about increasing concerns over the sustainability of Arizona's groundwater supply. That's Tuesday evening, 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.